We've established that three factors underpin a good marketplace sketch: colors, light, and people. Let's first take a look at what we mean by colors. I'm going to jump to a scene from my sketchbook, this one right here. This was obviously painted in a vegetable market, plein air. What attracted me to this scene was this yellow tarpaulin and how the light passing through the tarpaulin is also affecting the colors of the people and the produce under it. Let's try to recreate this effect while also maintaining the vibrance of the individual colors which are being affected by this light passing through the tarpaulin. Just going to put down some pencil lines to somewhat recreate the scene that we just saw. This can be the tarpaulin, very simple. Somewhere here we can have our vegetable, maybe some of it is angled. Maybe this is the vendor. That seems about right. So let's recreate that yellow tarpaulin, for which we will obviously need a lot of yellow. This is my cool yellow, my aureolin, in which I'm going to mix a little bit of Indian gold. That seems about right. I want this to be at around coffee consistency. Cleaning up this brush of mine. Maybe I can go a little bit thicker with that mix. It's going to dry a lot lighter, and yellow is quite a weak color to begin with. Also going to mix a few colors for the vegetables in advance. There's always an orange vegetable. Maybe one green. Might need a purple as well, but I'll do that later. So I'm going to use my biggest brush. And first I'm going to wet down the area right under that tarpaulin. Clean water is ideal. My water is a little bit tinted so that you can see it on camera. If you're working at a tilt like me, a bead will form at the bottom. Now, with my slightly smaller brush, I am going to introduce that yellow to the tarpaulin. Make sure the yellow is nice and strong, because some of it is going to flow down into that wet area and it is going to dry lighter. I'm going to help that yellow to flow a little. You can always use your spray to induce it to flow a little bit further. I'm going to sop up some of this water right at the bottom. This sometimes helps the pigment flow a little bit better. So now I have a nice gradient going here. And before this paper can dry, I'm going to start introducing some color where the vegetables are supposed to be. I don't need to define the vegetables, I just need there to be color. This paint will need to be a little bit thicker than what is already on the paper, otherwise it will flow a bit too much. I'm going to play with the shape, make it appear a little bit interesting. Maybe I can have some brinjal. Aubergine as it's called in some parts. I'm also going to try and lift a little bit of pigment from this person. I like how that looks. At this stage, it's difficult to come in with a fountain pen, but something you can use is a gel pen. What's nice about a gel pen is it works perfectly fine on this wet paper, and I can use it to define these vegetables a little bit more. That's some very interesting effects with this ink. It's not always predictable. And of course, it depends on at what level of wetness you actually introduce this ink onto your paper. Since I'm recording, I've gone a little too early with the ink, so I'm going to wait. Maybe I can lift a little bit of paint away from some of these vegetables, give them more form. So wet stage is a nice time to work on things, some of the things in the background as well. You're going to get this blurry effect happening. Also going to establish the tar a little bit further. Maybe this is the wall. This is also a nice exercise to see the kind of effects you get at different levels of wetness. It's a humid day and sheet is still wet. I'm going to take that opportunity to add a few more vegetables. Let's see what happens. I like the halo that is developed around this guy. I think that's about enough for now. If I was going to do a more detailed painting, another step which I would have taken is I would have darkened the area behind this person so the person stood out and then this part would look like a wall. But since this is a quick thumbnail just to give you an idea of the technique, I'm just going to leave it here. A little splash just cause. Okay, I'm going to call that done. Let's come back to it once it's dry. Our paper is now dry and our colors are lovely and bright. The gradient of this yellow obviously could have been a little bit smoother. Ideally something like this. The reason why this happened is fairly obvious to me, and I'm going to take this opportunity to share it with you. Firstly, I could have worked at a greater tilt, which meant that the yellow would have flowed more. Owing to the fact that I'm filming, I'm a little bit limited in how much I can tilt my board. Secondly, I did not tape my paper down. Quite often when urban sketching, I don't tape my paper because speed is of the essence. And I am using a fairly thin paper. Actually, this is the paper within my sketchbook. So the thin paper and the lack of tape also means that the paper ends up forming wrinkles, crumpling up a little bit. And because of those wrinkles, some of this yellow has been pushed back up instead of down. In this particular instance, this section would get covered with darker paint. So these cauliflowers would just vanish. Anyway, moving on to the next factor that we have to consider, which is light. The video you just watched is a part of a full-length class on urban sketching vibrant, colorful markets. I'll be releasing the full class on my Skillshare page on the 1st of December. Use the link in the description to get 1 month free access of Skillshare.